Hello and welcome to my Dungeoneering tips and tricks video on how to complete dungeons faster. Before I actually get into the content of this video, I want to go over a few things really quick first. First of all is that this video is going to be strictly how to complete dungeons themselves faster. It's not going to be about what I think is the best method for training Dungeoneering in terms of experience-wise. Things such as whether I think you should be doing large floors with 5 people after a certain point, whether I think you should rush C1 floors. It's not going to go into basics of how to complete puzzles and how to kill every boss. It's not going to talk about prestige. It's simply going to be things you can do once you're in a dungeon to streamline the process and complete it faster. I want to mention that at the point I'm making this video, I'm 118 Dungeoneering. I'm not 120. I'm not 200 mil. I'm nothing crazy. So I know that there are thousands of people that are faster and better than me. But I know there's a lot of people that aren't that great at Dungeoneering. Everyone always complains about getting crappy people on their team. So that's what this video is aimed at trying to helping everyone get faster. Again, I am not the best. There's a million things about Dungeoneering I don't know, and I'm sorry. But I really hope that this is helpful to everybody. Another thing really quick, this is actually my first type of commentary, RuneScape video, anything like that at all. So I'm very sorry that my commentary is not going to be that great. I am sorry. My voice might get boring. I'm going to stutter a lot. I'm sorry. I can't say that enough. Again, because it's my first video, my recording also is not going to be that great. I don't know how to do any sort of video editing, anything fancy with that. So again, another kind of downside to it, but I hope the information I can convey makes up for that. At the point I'm making this video, I'm actually recording on a very poor quality, we'll say, laptop that's been consistently crashing multiple times every single day. And I get very laggy when I'm recording, so I'm sorry that again comes through into the quality of the video, but I hope I can make up for it in everything that I have to say and hopefully teach you. At the point I'm recording this specific clip, the introduction to the video, I have already recorded most of the clips that I want to include in the video itself, most of the tips and tricks. And I know that you have already noticed it's going to be a very long video, and I'm sorry again if it gets boring with how long it is. Most of the clips themselves, though, are actually really short. Say 20 seconds, a minute and a half seconds, little tips on things you can do. Some of them are a little bit longer and more in-depth, but most of them are pretty short. I have, I think, 35 tips already in the video. So if that gives you an idea of the sort of quantity of what I'm going to be teaching, then but yeah, so I think let's just get into it. I really hope you like this video. If you found it informative, if there's anything you want to ask, you can leave a message in the comments, leave the video a like, anything along those lines, subscribe, whatever it is. If you leave a comment, I will try to respond to you, and let's get into this. One of the best things I think you can do to improve your Dungeoneering is completing the task set. At the second tier of the aura, you unlock the ability to bind a potion to you, meaning in every single floor you have that potion, you have that ability to boost. Personally, I have the Strong Artisan potion bound. The reason I have that one is because both skill doors and certain puzzles require the Artisan skill. This way, if any of them require something over 100, I am able to do it. Just because I use the Artisan potion doesn't mean it's best. You can use gatherers, you can use combat, because there are still doors and puzzles that require over 100 combat skills, and just play around with it, figure out what one you like. If you're going to be Dungeoneering with a group of friends, like a prearranged team, ideally you would each have a different potion. That way throughout the floor you have access to every single one. You don't need to waste time making potions or gathering portents. Other benefits of this aura include boss picks, which are nice. They're a benefit if you want one quick faster floor, you don't want to deal with a hard boss. or maybe not even a hard boss, but a boss that takes longer time, like Stomp, then you can do that. At the completion of the task set, you also unlock hard mode floors. Now, these aren't great for experience, but they are great at a few things. First of all, at level 120, if you complete all of the hard mode floors 1 through 60, you unlock the title. That's kind of cool, but again, it doesn't really help us with speed of dungeoneering. What is really nice about hard mode floors is that there are so much more Slayer monster spawns. So if you want to get a blood necklace, if you want to get a Hex Hunter bow, and even boss drops are buffed considerably. You can be in a solo floor and get tier 11 drops from a boss, which normally is very difficult to do. Normally you would need a team of 5 people and still need a little bit of luck. So that's another benefit of the aura. Again, not something that you will use in every single floor, but it's a nice little thing to have. The most important things that come with the aura in terms of faster dungeons includes number one, and the most important, is the second gatestone. I'm going to talk more about gatestones in another clip, but I will indicate right now that that is the most important thing. Another little nice benefit is that your first death on any day, you will automatically be revived, which first of all means that you don't get the experience penalty for the death, and it also means that you don't need to get back to where you were, whether it means you have to run there or you use a gatestone. So aura is a very, very beneficial thing. If you have the requirements to get it, definitely get it. If you don't have the requirements, then I really recommend that you get them. So another tip that you should definitely be using is switching out your starter items. When you complete the task set, you'll notice as you complete it, you get more and more coins at the start of every dungeon. Now, these are nice, but it still takes time to buy what you want. Now, if you talk to the smuggler, you can change your starting items, and now, let's see right here, like to receive feathers, rune essence, and anti-poison. Now, it won't happen in this dungeon, but I will rejoin the dungeon and show you what that means. This is still a relatively new update. I believe it was in the patch notes at least a couple weeks ago. I don't remember specifically, but it's very helpful, because what'll happen a lot of the time is you'll jump into a floor and you'll start running through it. You'll realize that there is a puzzle that requires feathers. This way, you get your feathers right in the beginning, even have an anti-poison, which is pretty nice, and you have rune essence. Something I didn't mention in the auras section is that after you complete, I believe, the second tier of the aura, you can claim your reward from the smuggler and pick up law runes and cosmic runes. Super helpful for using your gatestones, again, which I will cover later. But if you don't have this already set up, then this essence will help you out a lot. Also, if you're someone who likes to cast vengeance or stuff like that in a dungeon, personally I don't. I used to a very long time ago, back way before evolution of combat and everything. But if that's something you like to do, maybe this 25 essence will help you out. But really, I think it should be focused more toward gatestones. Now, talking about my own personal bind setup, I have the hood, the 99 ranged body. I have Sagittarian shortbow, which, if you're using abilities, is the strongest ranged weapon in the game. Like 99.9% certain it's even better than the noxious weaponry or ascension crossbows, anything like that. I of course have Sagittarian arrows, and I also have a celestial catalytic staff. Now, the reason I have both ranged and mage is because of NPC weaknesses. I was actually talking to a guy in a dungeon a long time ago, and he was telling me about how really the two ideal setups would be either ranged and mage or melee and mage, and that's because any type of NPC that is weak to either melee or range, the alternate will still do a decent amount of damage, and magic will too. But if there's something that's weak to magic, then you're really going to struggle to do a lot of damage with either ranged or melee. So that's why I bring the mage weapon as well. Things that would be weak to magic include things like Forgotten Warriors, Brutes, Guard Dogs, Jellies, sometimes Reborn Warriors or Mages, Giant Bats, Giant Rats, things like that. So they do appear frequently. Necreals as well. So it's very nice to have. I think it's very helpful. As far as hood versus like if I was to get legs or something like that, that's kind of more up to preference in my opinion. With the hood, of course, I'll be attacked less. With the legs, I'd have a little bit more defense. And once I get 120, I'm just going to have both because I'll have that extra bind slot. As far as blood necklace goes, I don't find that much benefit with it than people like make it out to be. I have 2 of them, but I don't use them. I really just got them lucky in drops and wanted to bind them for fun. But again, I don't use them. The reason for this is because a blood necklace doesn't do its effect. It's like it's damage soaking sort of soul split type effect unless you are within direct melee range of your opponent and you are in combat with them. Because I use primarily range and mage, I'm not going to be in that scenario very often, and I can get a lot more benefit from either a Shadow Silk Hood or the Sagittarian Body. Again, it could kind of be up to preference. If it's something that you really like, then go for it. I'm not going to tell you that it's wrong. I'm not going to tell you it's bad. But this is just what I like to do. This is what I have found success with. As well as using ranged and mage, it gives you a little bit more mobility. You can start like running to a door while you're still in combat, turning around and attacking as you're still moving. You can't really do that with melee as much. And if you are going to be using multiple styles of combat, I use hotkeys to switch between my ability bars. This way I can switch weapons, quickly switch ability bars, and just be able to continue through combat faster. There's less delay in between it, and that's what this is all about. I was just about to get into something. What was it? Oh, as far as Sagittarian short bow goes versus the other 98, 99 ranged weapons, Sagittarian longbow, shield bow, and the Hex Hunter bow. The Hex Hunter bow, of course, is the level 98 ranged weapon dropped by Soul Gazers, which require level 99 Slayer to kill. So they're obviously a very rare drop. They're difficult to get. I have only ever gotten one. I have it bound. I didn't get it until I had 60 million Dungeoneering experience. Now, there are trade-offs between the two. If you're using abilities, the Sagittarian shortbow has the better damage per second, regardless. That has been proven. That has been tested. That is how it works. If you're not using abilities, if that's not your thing, if you prefer to use Legacy, if you prefer to use Momentum, then the Hex Hunter bow will be stronger. Its auto attacks are better, but that's the only case in which it's better in terms of damage output. The only other benefit from it really is that, well, the only other 2 benefits, are that it is a shield bow, so you get defensive abilities with it. If you like using defensive abilities in Dungeoneering, then feel free to do that. That's not my thing, but I don't see how that would either increase or decrease your speed of a dungeon as long as you're still able to put out decent damage output. And the Sagittarian longbow, again, kind of a similar concept to the Hex Hunter bow, other than you wouldn't get the Hex Hunter bow benefit, which is that it does extra damage to I'm not sure if it's just Forgotten Mages or if it's any sort of magic based NPC, but that is my take on binds. That is what I do with binds. You can look at my binds, you can see everything that I have. I have collected a hex. I do have 2 blood necklaces. I have a Celestial Robe Top. I have yet to use it. And here I have my Sagittarian chaps for when I get 120. I do have my Primal 2H, my Primal Plate and legs. I don't really use them again. That's just not the style of dungeoneering that I'm using, but I have 10 bind slots, I might as well fill them up. And so that is my take on binds. And now, depending on what style of combat you're using primarily, that will affect what you want to upgrade your ring to. Another benefit that I didn't really mention about the tier 4 aura is that it allows you to have a secondary role. And at tier 4, that secondary role is 100% effective, meaning both your primary role and your secondary role will both be working with each other. Neither one will be more effective than the other. They will both be used fully, which is fantastic. So as someone who primarily uses ranged, I have the sniper as my primary. I have the desperado as my secondary. And this is a very common setup. And what I have as my quick switch is Blitzer for when I decide to use magic. Granted, I don't remember to switch my Ring of Kinship that often. If I'm in like a boss fight where I need to use magic, such as the Sagittarian boss, or say maybe I'm killing the Bulwark beast, then I'll probably remember to, because I'll be using magic for a longer period of time. If I'm just switching combat styles quickly, I probably won't remember to, and that is my own fault. I should probably do that. But again, you don't have to. Will increase your damage output. It is something that will help you have faster dungeons. Granted that you're able to do it fast enough that you're not wasting time trying to switch it and all of that, but you can figure out what you like. That is what I use for my my ring binds. You'll notice that I do have a bunch of points in Blazer. I have a bunch of melee points. A lot of these were from back before the evolution of combat. I don't use them now. I don't think they're very useful. So that is why I have that. It's not because I'm lying to you. I just don't use them, and I haven't reset my ring. I don't know if I'm ever going to. Now, something I will almost always see people do in most floors, even in high-level floors, I will see people come over to the table and they'll start looting the table for food. You don't need to do this. There is basically no reason to be doing this. The amount of food you will get is not very good. Granted, in a large floor, there will be more food. There will be higher tier food, but you're not going to get a lot. It's not going to make a difference, and it's just going to delay the time of you actually getting into starting the dungeon. If you do need food, and you really don't want to take that death, take that XP penalty, then wait until there's some sort of guardian door going on and pick up some salvials or something that you get from a drop. Especially if you're at a part of the dungeon where you're waiting for someone to move the group tele gatestone, then that would be a good time to be picking up food if you really want to be using food. I really don't approve of looting the table. I really think it's a waste of time, and it does not benefit you. And I'm finally going to get around to talking about gatestones. Gatestones are the most important thing that you can be using and actively contributing to making the floor faster. Through using a gatestone, you basically create a teleport to that location. That is exactly what it does, and people underestimate the power of this. Now, in a large floor where you'll be covering this entire map, as opposed to like a small floor where you only have a very small fraction of it, being able to get to over here when you're stuck over here and you have to loop around like that is so useful. It saves so much time, especially considering that there are going to be so many different parts of the floor when you're going to want to move your entire team to a different location. Now, when it comes to gatestones, there are several things to be keeping in mind. First of all, I'm actually going to start this dungeon and see if I can kind of demonstrate anything about gatestones. So I'm just getting the key just in case I'm going to need it or something. So you see there's a green triangle door right here. So personally what I like to do is if so it's a guardian door. I'm gonna kill this shade. But what I like to do, so I don't forget which gatestone is at which door, considering I have two plus the group tele, I like to drop the gatestone that is a similar color. So if I had any sort of orange or crimson door, I would try to drop this one. If I had like a blue or a green door, I would be dropping this one. Again, you can't always control that, but if you have the choice, that's just a personal preference of mine. I think it's kind of useful. And when again, you can right click or left click drop now. They changed that option. If that still messes you up and you keep right click using because you're used to having to right click to drop, you can always drag it off of your inventory and it will drop it for you. So when you do gate a door, sorry, my phone just went off. Let me turn that off. When you gate a door in any sort of large dungeon, when you're with a group of people, you should say what you gated. This is for multiple reasons. First of all, it tells your team that you have that door gated. They don't need to do it. That way, there aren't multiple gates being wasted on one door. Other people can save their gates for other doors. Second of all, in a large dungeon, especially if you're going to be dungeoneering for several floors, you're going to forget what you have gated. You're going to start remembering other floors and getting confused about everything. At least I do. And you're going to think, wait a minute. Do I have this door gated? Is it orange wedge? Is it crimson wedge? Do I have like a corner door? And you will get confused. You can scroll up in the chat, find out what you gated, and then you're all set. So what else did I have to say about gates? Oh, breaking gates. So say I gate this door right here, very close to the base, and say, for example, this is a large floor. I'm all the way down here. I am the only person on this path. Everyone else is off doing their own paths, or they're in the middle of a puzzle or something. I was responsible for this path. Let's say I'm about to die, or a similar situation, I reach the end of this path, quote unquote end. I don't mean end as in the path ends. I mean I can't continue any farther. There's another door to open, but we don't have the key for it yet. What you should do is break the gate that you had for the door that's easier to get to. And you would do that just by making another gate stone and dropping it in the different location. By doing this, it's prioritizing your gate stones being at the harder to get to locations. This way, just making it easier, as opposed to being able to use your gate stone to teleport to a door that you could get to easier. It's just overall is a good habit to get into. Sometimes it's difficult to figure out which one would be better, but other times it's just common sense. Another thing about using your gate stones is that if you have two doors that are somewhat near each other, they don't even have to be in the same room. They can be 1 room apart, 2 rooms apart, sometimes even 3 rooms apart. You can use one gate stone to cover both of those, especially if you're going to be in a large floor covering a much more massive area. And specifically toward the end of a floor, not in the beginning, because in the beginning everyone's going to have free gates. They'll all be able to gate each individual door. It won't make a difference. But this way you don't need to be worrying about breaking other gates. You can just use one gate for multiple doors. I kind of forgot to mention where I was going with the whole if you're about to die along the end of a path. With breaking your gate. I know I covered breaking your gate for if you reach near the end of the path, you can't open the door. But where I was going with the whole you're about to die thing, if you recreate a gate stone, then when you die, it automatically drops the gate stones you have with you. So say, for example, again, I had this door gated, but it's very easy to get to, whether that means that there's someone else on my team that has a nearby door gated, whether it means it's near the base. If I break that gate stone and then I die with it farther along the path, then that means when I respawn over here, I can use that gate stone to get back to my path way down here again, and there's no time lost. I don't need to run all the way back down there again because I didn't use a gate stone. And again, this can like take experience and practice knowing which one of your gate stones you should be breaking. But it's something to practice. It's something to get into a habit of, and the better you can get at things like this, the much better you'll be at dungeoneering. One of the biggest problems that people run into in a floor, causes the biggest conflicts between people, is when people don't move the group telly when they should. The group teleport, the group gatestone, this is referred to as MGT, meaning move the group telly. What this indicates is that I need to get to a different location. Now, there are several different scenarios when this would be used. Say, for example, you reach the end of your path and you teleport to the group gatestone, and that has also been dropped somewhere. It's not in a useful location. It's still far from any doors that you can be contributing to and helping speed the floor along. You would say MGT, hopefully someone else would be like, oh, okay, and then they would move it to where you could go. Another example would be for when you're about to start the boss, about to end the floor, for doing any sort of puzzle that requires multiple people, for opening any door that you might not have the skill level 4. You would need to move the group teleport so that everyone, or at least one person who's capable of doing that, could do that. Let's say, for example, I don't have the magic level to open this, hypothetically, but there is someone on my team who does. I would be like, oh yeah, I need 105 magic. And be like, oh, I have a magic pot, MGT. So what I would do, I would drop a gatestone here so I can get back to here. Teleport to the group gatestone. Pick up the group gatestone. Teleport back to my gatestone. Now the group teleport is where it needs to be. He can use his group tele. He can get to where he needs to be. This is the best way of moving people around the map, whether it be for an emote puzzle, for levers, for boss, for for doors, for puzzles. This is necessary. Anytime someone reaches the end of a path and they need to be somewhere to help, this is such a necessary practice to get into, is knowing how to do this and how to do this quickly. Only reason that you wouldn't be able to do this is if you've already used your 1 or your 2 gates to gate a door, so you can't teleport back there. In that case, you would need someone else to move the group telly for you. But this is absolutely necessary, that you know how to do this, and you know when to ask for this to be done in order for fast floors. In Dungeoneering, it's also very helpful to know abbreviations for things. And this isn't only so you can type them faster, but it's also so that when other people say them, you know what they mean. I already went over MGT. Hopefully everyone in the world knows how to do that, how like what that means. But there's several other abbreviations in Dungeoneering, such as GK, meaning get key. This would be said if someone runs past a key, they're in the middle of doing a puzzle, they don't want to stop doing the puzzle, but they see a key. They're afraid it's going to get forgotten, they want someone to get it. And this way, they're getting the key while someone else is doing a puzzle. It just, the more that people are able to divide up the work, the faster the dungeon will be completed. Other types of abbreviations include things like GTB for group telly to the boss, GTL or GT levers, they mean the same thing. GT ports for the portal puzzle in Warped Tour floors. What else is there? There's GTE for group telly and the floors over. And there's just a bunch of different abbreviations in Dungeoneering. If someone says one you don't know what it is, ask them and then get into the habit of using it. The less you're typing, the more you can be actually completing the floor. And also just knowing what people are saying is very helpful towards the floor in general. Communication is key. As far as gating doors goes earlier and calling that out, like I talked about, this is also very commonly abbreviated. Each door has 2 parts to it. There's the color and then there's the shape of it. There's a different abbreviation for each one. The real problem ones that kind of get confusing is crescent versus corner, because they both start with a C, so you need to know which one is which. Crescent would typically be CR or CRES, and corner would be either CO or corn. Typically, you should make sure to use at least 2 letters for these, unless most of your team is right there and they see the door too. That way there isn't confusion, and when you get the key, you know, oh yeah, that's my key, I need to go there, I need to do that. Or someone can say, oh yeah, someone already gated this, you need to go do that door. Another problem is gold versus green. Again, same type of problem, same type of fix, but just sort of abbreviations that you should get into the habit of doing. So it'd be, say, Crimson Shield. There'd be orange Diamond. Say we go Blue Wedge. Let's say Gold Pentagon. Let's go Green Rectangle. Stuff like that. It's just when you're able to type those out quickly, it's so much easier than trying to type everything out quickly and still be running around to doing the whole floor, doing your different gatestones. It's just those small little things that can not only make you seem and act like a faster dungeoneer, but they do add up, they do help you in the end, and they're great practices to get into. Real quick, while I'm still on the topic, there's several different ways to call out that you actually have that door gated. You don't just want to say the type of door it is, but you want to say that you actually have it gated. If you look in the chat, you can see I say gated, I use an abbreviation for gated, and I say me. And by CR me, I mean Crimson Rectangle, me. What that indicates is I have the gate. If anyone else gated this, break your gate. I have it. And let's move on, and it's just basically saying I have it gated. We're not arguing about this, so there's no one saying, oh, but I gated it, break yours. It's just another quick way of saying it. In terms of calling out doors and everything along those lines, you can also call out keys when you get them or when you're about to pick them up. It is announced in the chat, like you can see here, it says your party found a key, gold triangle key. But say you're running into a room, you're about to pick up a key. It's on the other end of the room, and you know that someone else on your team has already called out that they have that gated. What you can say is, I just typed in gold pentagon go, meaning I'm about to pick up a gold pentagon key. I know someone has that gated. The person who has that gated should be teleporting to their gatestone, so that way by the time I pick up the key, they're already there and unlocking the door. It's small little time savers like that that really make those really fast dungeoneering teams so fast and so incredible. Those things add up so quickly. And here I am recording a video where I'm 43 minutes into a floor and I've hardly even done any of it just because I'm standing here recording. Another tip involving communication with your team actually is in regards to spamming. As far as being in a dungeon goes and waiting for someone to move the group tele or to actually get to the levers that you need to be doing, there is absolutely no problem at all with spamming that through the chat 500 times until they get there. And the reason that is because half of the people in your dungeon are probably going to be talking in private chat, friends chat, clan chat. They're on Skype, they're texting, they're on YouTube, they're doing whatever. The point is they're not going to be paying full attention to the chat. Your one message or your 2 messages, they could very easily not notice, especially if they're in the middle of some sort of guardian door or anything like that. They're doing a puzzle, they're picking up keys, they might not see it. If you type it 500 times until they get there, then they get your message and they actually get there. It makes it that much more noticeable. You might think you're being annoying, they might think you're being annoying, but in the end it actually does help, and most people actually don't have a problem with it. I've noticed anyway, in higher up level floors, people actually will be like, oh, sorry, and you can say, oh, no problem, whatever, and even that, you don't even need to do that. The point is that spamming is not a bad thing. You're not a jerk if you spam in a dungeon floor, as long as it's for the sake of productivity. Another tip I have is actually using the ability Surge to get across rooms faster, to get toward doors and anything like that. Anytime you're in a room where you can move from where you are to the other end of the room in a straight line, and you have Surge up, then you should pretty much be using it. There's no reason not to. Well, the only reason not to would be that maybe you have so much lag that when you do use that, it actually slows you down, and by the time you're actually able to move from where you were, that it didn't help in the end. But for the most case, it should be helpful. And see, like, even there I lagged a little bit at the end, but I think it was still overall like faster than if I wasn't to do that. So that's another small little tip. Again, not something you need to do. It's not the determining thing on whether you're a pro or not, but it's those small little things that really do add up. And if there's someone like running with you along the same path and you use Surge, you will get to the doors before them. And can kind of be a good thing, because say that there's like 2 steps to the door, you need to unlock it and then open it. If you both get there at the same time, then you're not really going to get anywhere with that. If one of you gets there a little bit first, then one of you can be unlocking the door while the other one of you is moving forward to open the door. So it's little things like that. I have gotten into the habit of using Surge. That's why it's on my G key. I use a ASDW for moving the camera around. It's a habit I've gotten into. So I can just reach my finger over to G, use Surge pretty easily, and it helps. It adds up. Another kind of tip is it involves abilities again, and by no means am I some sort of like master of abilities. I'm sure that I am awful at knowing what abilities to use when, but using abilities like Ricochet and Chain, the maged and ranged area of effect abilities, are extremely useful for Dungeoneering, whether it be in a boss room like this, or in terms of guardian doors, when there's going to be so many different things that you could be attacking, that it helps so much. It's literally overpowered, the amount of damage that you'll do with a basic ability, because of how many things will be around. It's very helpful. As far as the levers puzzle goes, in any sort of 5-man dungeon, it would be expected that you would want all 5 people to be in this floor, or in this room, I should say. But that's not necessary. If you time it just right, you can have 4 people do it. If one person does these 2 levers that are closest to each other, it's kind of tricky to time, but basically what needs to happen is the person who's standing here will announce to everyone to pull their levers as this person moves. So he'll click this switch, he'll run over here. As he's moving, everyone else will click theirs, and then he'll get this one. That leaves literally just enough time to unlock the puzzle without the levers snapping back. Another thing about levers is that frequently you'll see a lot of people wasting time trying to kill everything in the middle. You can see I kind of just did. It was like a couple level 3 shades or whatever for the sake of the recording. I don't know why I even bothered. But you really don't need to be wasting time killing anything in this room. There is nothing that says that killing the things in this room helps you complete the puzzle. What you should be doing once you get to this room, dropping the group gatestone somewhere, getting on a lever, say group telly to the levers, GTL, whatever you want to say, whatever floats your boat, and then you just get on your lever. Everyone else gets on their lever. They don't bother standing in the middle killing anything. Once everyone is on a lever, someone will say, on the count of 3, or on 3, no count, or just on 3, no count, abbreviated like this. And what this means is when this person sends out a whole bunch of 3s, it means that is your signal to pull. On 3, no count basically developed because it was a way of saying, we're going to pull this quickly, we're not going to waste time counting. As soon as you see this message, pull the levers. And I have been in many floors where I have misclicked levers. I've been in many floors where other people have misclicked levers multiple times, to the point where people completely quit the floor and just gave up. So levers are a cause of a lot of stress and tension in floors, but they really don't have to be. It really doesn't even take a full team. Now let's say you are in a large floor and you decide, I don't want to say you decide, you come across a door that you need a potion for that you don't have. You could either farm the herb, or you could have been opening locked chests as you went through the floor. When you do this, not only do you get a whole bunch of coins that will help you buy any sort of supplies you might need, but you also get herbs. And God forbid you be in the situation where you need one, they can be very helpful. In all honesty, I don't know what it takes for each potion. I just never was the person that made the potions. But knowing that will help you out a lot. Again, you don't really need it a whole lot now because you can use portents. You can already have a potion bound to you. But knowledge like that will help you, because then you don't need to go through the skill guide to figure it out, first of all. And second of all, because you can be gathering potions before you even have the door that requires them. Small tip about this boss, doesn't really make a whole big difference, but when you're able to close one of the tunnels, I find it's helpful to close this one first, the one farthest away, because when you do that, that leaves it open so that way you can be standing here and being healed while still killing the skeletons. And again, for the most part, I don't think you'd be doing abandoned floors like this as large as maybe you do. Maybe that's what you like to do. You like that little bit of extra experience. That's fine. But if that is something that you're doing and you actually need that sort of healing, then that's a little tip I have to keep in mind when you're doing the ferrets puzzle, is that typically it only takes one, maybe two people to really get through the puzzle in a quick and easy way. The more people that are in the room, the more frustrating it gets for those who are trying to do the puzzle. So if you are the person doing the puzzle, you should tell the rest of your team that they should leave, they should get out of the room. And if there are other people already working on the puzzle, then just be a good person and don't mess it up for them. That's really all I have to say about the ferret puzzle. There aren't really any special tips about how to actually do it other than just communicating who is doing it. So a tip when you're doing this lodestone puzzle is that you can drop gatestones on the little pillars, whatever you want to call them. So if you do that and then you run to another part of it, that will spawn the orb near you, and then you can teleport back to your gatestone, and it makes it that much easier to get across. A few quick tips relating to this floor I'm in currently. As far as the barrels go, there's now an option to both push and pull it, meaning you don't need two people to do it anymore, or you don't need to be running back and forth to each side. So that makes it a little bit quicker to do if you didn't know about that little fix that they threw in there. Also, you don't actually need to put the barrel on the pressure plate when you finish filling the barrel up. As soon as it's full, you can unlock the door, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't actually drain after it's filled anymore. So as soon as it's filled, if someone opens the door, then you're good to go. Another quick tip, this one specifically to this floor, is that sort of an example. We had a 102 strength door, well, not a door, but puzzle for another set of barrels, and nobody in this floor has the potion for it. You can't use a portent for it because it's a puzzle, it's not a door, and we're already this far into the floor at 10 minutes in. So we could either waste the time in buying the herb seed and making the potion and everything, or alternatively we could just skip the door and finish the puzzle and start a new floor that much sooner. That's something that you kind of need to learn to accept in floors, is that not every single floor you will complete. It's okay to skip doors as long as you know that it's just going to take more time to complete them than it's worth. It's also okay to die in dungeons. A lot of people, especially at lower levels, kind of freak out over dying. They think, oh no, I can't die. There's going to be a serious experience penalty. This is going to set me so far behind. The floor is not even worth doing. All of that is complete nonsense. Yes, you want to avoid dying if you can, but it's a lot better to lose a little bit of experience in a death than it is to waste a lot of time preventing the death, because that time could have been spent in a whole nother floor. Say you spend a few minutes trying to gather food to prevent losing 10 or 15,000 experience. That few minutes could have gone toward a whole nother, like, I don't know, 20% of another floor, which of course would have, in the end, netted you more experience per hour. A little tip for doing any one of the grappling puzzles is that it's a lot easier if you're actually communicating with your team over Skype for something like this. But because there's so many steps in this puzzle, it's easier if you break it up. For example, you could run into a floor and one person starts doing the grapple head itself, the hook, and one person starts making the rope for it. Of course, you're not going to be on Skype with everyone that you are in a dungeon with, and you're lucky if you even wind up in a floor that's exclusively your friends. So what you can do is just run into the room and start grabbing stuff and working on a step. Hopefully someone else will be working on the other half, and then you can just drop what you have on the ground. Hopefully they'll notice this and they'll pick it up. If this does happen, then that's great. If it doesn't, then it slows you down a little bit, but it's really not a big deal. It's just kind of a little benefit that you can work on. When you're doing this puzzle, sometimes you might think that you need to kill everything that's attacking you so that way you can actually take out the vials themselves, but you don't necessarily have to. If you spam click what you need to click to take out the bottles, and then you also are spam clicking the numbers that withdraw those vials, then it will be taking them out before the attack animations can interrupt you. When you're doing this crystal lodestone puzzle, of course, the goal is just to get all of them to be in the center at the same time. Now, to do this, you don't necessarily have to line them all up. If you stand on the pressure plate while it's in the center, it will hold it in the center. So if my lag will actually let me do this. All right, well, the point is that if you can get 4 people to do that or 3 people to do that, then what happens is that you don't need to spend so much time lining them up, as they'll already be in the center where they need to be. The other ones just need to catch up, and then that makes it so much easier to complete. When you're doing the Pondskater puzzle, they like to, when they go to the middle and then they start moving toward their target location, don't click on them at this point. Just pay attention to which one has it, wait until they start to move, and then click on them afterward, because usually they kind of fake you out, and what they'll do is they'll start to go toward one side, then they'll run all the way toward the other side, kind of like this one did. And if I was already waiting over here and I clicked on it when it was over here, I would have ran all the way around to one side and then all the way back to the other side, and I wouldn't have gotten it in time. Kind of like what happened here. That was just because I clicked too early, and that's something that can very easily be avoided. When you're doing guardian doors in warped floors, sometimes what'll happen is a reborn anything, reborn warrior, reborn mage will move into your floor. And of course that's frustrating because that's one more thing that you have to kill that wasn't there initially. But what you can do is it'll continue to kind of drop down into the floor and teleport around. But while it's doing that, it's not seen as part of the floor. So what you can do is, even when it still looks like it's in the floor, as it's moving, you can try to open the door as long as you've killed anything else, and then it'll still work. When you're doing this fishing puzzle, it's kind of nice and important to know how the ferret itself actually moves. When you throw the fish, the ferret will move diagonally and then straight toward it based on where you throw it. So if you keep this in mind, you can throw fewer fish and complete the puzzle faster. And I will actually demonstrate this in just a second. This puzzle here where you can jump over the bridge and then repair it with the, what's it called? The planks. You don't need to do that. Unless, there are people on your team that have really low agility levels, there's no reason to actually have to do the second half of the puzzle. You can just jump over and then you're good, especially if you bring the group gatestone over there, then anyone who can't get over there on their own is set. When you're doing this puzzle, of course it takes a long time for the statue itself to actually make it all the way around. So if there's a door far away, like in this case, you can be doing something else while it's moving around. Because, fortunately for me, there's a nearby door that needs to be opened, I can be doing this while the statue is completing that puzzle for me. When you're doing the maze, there's no real reason for you actually to get all the way to the center, unless of course there is a key there, and I just keep misclicking. But because of this, you don't need to complete the maze, we'll say, in order to be able to go through the door. So if you just find your way to the other door, you can run through it, and yes, every other time you run into that room, the poison will hurt you, but if you're using gatestones the right way, you won't have to run into it again. So if you have access to warped floors, then you know Blink, and you know that he is the most frustrating, infuriating boss in all of Daemonheim, in my opinion anyway. I don't think there'd be very many who disagree with that, though. Basically, if you don't know how Blink works, he runs across the room in and out of portals in a straight line, and every time he does this, he does an obscene amount of magic damage. You need to raise the sunken pillars in order to stop him and then be able to attack him. And my only tip for this is that he only runs in two directions. He runs north and he runs east. So if we kind of orient the map so it's a little easier to notice this, he'll only be running in this direction and in this direction, meaning that if you stand along this wall and this wall, you'll have the most time to react and raise the pillar in order to kill him. And I actually used my boss pick for this clip because I hate actually fighting Blink. I didn't want to do this in an actual dungeon or wait until I finally got to him. And I think I'm actually going to try for this clip, for the sake of this clip. I very well might just give up halfway through. But hopefully this will work out okay for you guys. So because I'm only one person in this dungeon, I just did a medium warped floor, I can only cover realistically 2 pillars at once, and he's gone already. This is why Blink is awful, but that is why it's so important to know how he runs and how to stop him. When you're doing the statues puzzle, you aren't able to push the statue if there's something on the other side of it blocking the way. So that makes it very useful to pull the statue instead, because when you pull it, you're obviously taking up the space. You push any NPCs under you out of the way, and then that fixes it. And someone didn't finish this one over here. When you're doing the monolith, sometimes it's interesting. I don't know how much it really helps, but the shades don't spawn up here in the northeast corner at all. They're always going to be in the northwest, the southwest, and the southeast quadrants. So especially if you're using melee, if you stay in these areas, you'll be closer to the shades when they appear, and you won't need to be running around the monolith to get to them. When you're doing the ghosts puzzle, it's good to note that the ghost itself that moves between the NPCs always travels to the one that's closest to it. And when they're moving all over the room, sometimes it's harder to see which one it goes into. If you attack them, then they're aggressive toward you, and as long as they remain in combat with you, they don't move. So if you're doing that, it's easier to figure out which one of them got the ghost. I've just been like attacking the same one for 3 minutes while I'm commentating, but you get the idea. So if you're at a guardian door and you don't have the group telly with you, someone else has it, and but you're close enough to them that you don't really need to move it. If you're using gatestones and things like that, you could, if you're the party leader, you could say GD mark and mark one of the NPCs in that specific room, and then that'll show up in their map where everyone needs to go, and that makes it a little bit easier to find where it is what people are calling out. So I just learned this trick tonight. When you're doing the ferret hunter puzzle, if you make a trap and you set it down in the very middle of the floor, and then you leave the floor, or not the floor, middle of the room, and leave the room, what happens is that resets the ferret to its middle position, so it'll spawn on top of the trap is the word I'm looking for. So obviously I haven't practiced this. I don't know like a perfect way to do it, but that's the concept, and if you can get that to work, then that's awesome. When you're doing the portals puzzle, typically you want to run into one side of the puzzle and then run into the opposite side of the room where you appear. And then after someone finally finds the center, you call out where you started from. Like for example, if I started in this one, this would be the east side. So I would call out east opposite. So that way people would know to go into, okay, so I have to go S opposite, so I'm going to go back through where I came from so I can get back to the beginning. And then go through the south portal and run opposite. And this is just a quicker way to figure out routes to the center. Alright, and finally, that is all that I have for Dungeoneering tips. If you liked the video, if you found it helpful, then please leave it a like. Let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Again, I'm really sorry that the quality of the video itself was actually pretty shitty, but I hope that the information that I was able to convey and to teach you was helpful and useful to you. It took me a very long time to get the portals puzzle so I could actually record a clip of it and talk about it. So that's why, of course, I'm 120 now. When I started, I was 118. I've done a lot of daily Dungeoneering challenges though in the meantime, so that boosted my experience a lot. And I grinded out a lot of Dungeoneering this weekend during the bonus Dungeoneering tokens weekend. But if you have any feedback for me, let me know in the comments. If there's anything, any sort of video topic that you'd want me to cover or to talk about, then again, let me know in the comments. If you want any more RuneScape related videos by me, then feel free to subscribe, leave the video a like, all of that. And I think that's it. Until next time, have a good one, stay happy.